I don't think we can call this a rapid reaction podcast because it's not. I'm reacting to a game that happened literally almost 12 hours ago. It's 10:30 in the morning, and I'm only now recording this like 12 hours after the game. So it's a reaction podcast. It's not a rapid reaction podcast, unfiltered speaking. But talk about the Cowboys and Giants last night. Cowboys did eke out a 20-15 win last night on Thursday Night Football. I guess, let me get the Giants out the way first. It's my team. I guess I'm kind of proud they didn't get embarrassed. And I think I only say that because I remember last year's games. The last year's matchup against the Cowboys. I think that I scored, 72 points in two games? 40-0 the first one. I think it was like 38-3, something of that ilk. I can't remember the number. It doesn't matter. They got destroyed in those games. But the Giants, look, the 1-3. This is pretty much par for the course. And I'll talk about that more on the main show this weekend. I'm going to do a quarterly report on the Giants on the main show, Earnestly podcast. This weekend I plan to at least discuss that in one of my topics. They score one touchdown in the game, they win. I mean, was it 5 field goals? Daniel Jones looked decent last night. He was serviceable. This is one of the better games he's had. I mean, there isn't really much to choose from. So to be honest with you, so it's not like it's a myriad of great games he's had through his career that this is one of the few games I thought he played well. The positives for the Giants, honestly, is that Malik Neighbors is phenomenal. This will be great. Hopefully. I mean, he got concussion last night. Hopefully he plays next week. Maybe not. I don't know. But I think the big takeaway for me is the offensive line is actually much better than I thought. They have improved. Daniel Jones did get protection last night. So, but again, I'll discuss the Giants on the main show this weekend in more detail. My larger point of this episode here, Unfiltered, is I think the Cowboys aren't that good. And I understand they played the Giants on a short week, traveling after losing to Baltimore in a tough loss there. But the Cowboys have been relatively the best team, one of the best teams in the NFC for the last couple of years. 12-5 for 3 years in a row. I know that if they fail in the playoffs every time, and that's obviously the narrative about the Cowboys, and we get all that. But I think, I've been defending them for a couple of years that, they're a good team. They need one more win to get to the conference championship, and they'll figure it out and all this stuff, and you get all that. I think this is the year they don't crack 10 plus wins. Now, they could probably still be a playoff team because I think their roster is good enough, but they got no running game. They're so reliant on CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott's still having a good year, actually, to be honest with you, by the numbers. He's having a decent year. But you don't want Dak Prescott to be the be-all, end-all. I think watching them last night, I think I figured out why the Cowboys just aren't as good as they've been the last couple of years. They're not really that special. Like, they have CeeDee Lamb, obviously, and Dak is a top 10 quarterback. We'll give you all that. But they're not special. Like, they are definitely beatable week to week. I think any team, including the 0-3 teams, can beat them on a given Sunday. Their defense is pretty mid. You can run on the Cowboys now. I mean, Micah Parsons is great, but can I say he might be slightly overrated? Not saying he's not good, but maybe the hype isn't really what is. I mean, maybe it's why they committed to Dak instead of, I don't know. That's another conversation down the road. What I do know about the Cowboys, they're just not that good. And for someone who's not a Cowboy fan at all, but I've defended them for the last couple of years because I do believe that we get trapped in the whole, we hate the Cowboys and they're annoying as hell, annoying fan base, so therefore we got to make fun of them even when they're good. You take all that logic aside, they've been a very good football team the last couple of years. You just don't fall into 12-5 3 years in a row. You just don't fall into that because you gotta win football games. But this team this year, I just don't think they're that good. And look, are they probably a playoff team this year? If you look at the NFC right now, look at this. Look at the environment in the NFC. Are they going to be a playoff team this year? Most likely, because but it feels like by default, because the rest of the conference isn't all that great, and there's still a lot of teams trying to define themselves too, also. But would it surprise you they missed the playoffs this year? No, because based on what I've seen in the first 4 games of the year, they're just not special. They're just not. I don't know. There's just something's missing, and I think it's the running game. It's the defense. I think they're too Dak reliant. I think they're too CeeDee Lamb reliant. You know, I will say this much, though, in the Cowboys' defense. You know, things can change in a couple weeks. We know the NFL is always that way now. When you add 17 games to the slate and 7 playoff spots per conference, you know, it adds more intrigue and more possibilities. I think these next 3 weeks, look, the Cowboys did the thing they needed to do. You know, whether it was ugly or not, you had to get out of New York to win, and they did that, and that's important. I think these next 3 weeks will say a lot about how good this team is. The next 3 games, and I don't remember the order of the games, the order of these game matchups, but they're playing these 3 teams. They're playing the Steelers, the Niners, and the Lions. I don't know the exact order of that, but to me, they got to go 2-1. I'll straight up tell you, they got to go 3-0. Like, Houston has been okay this year, not particularly great either through 3 weeks. Who's the other team? The Lions, same thing, kind of sluggish a little bit here and there. I mean, had a good win against Arizona last week. Kind of sluggish, though. And the Niners are banged up. So, on paper, you would say, those are 3 tough games. I do agree they're tough games. But they're also winnable games. So, I would dare say for Dallas to really shut the noise down, they got to go 3-0. And I think it's possible because these 3 teams aren't necessarily playing the best football right now. So, I think these 3 weeks may really define their year. But right now, through 4 weeks to a quarter of the year in, they're not good. They're not that good. They're mediocre. They're not bad, but they're not great. They're just mediocre. And for Dallas fans and for the Cowboys, you know, that's not enough. That's not enough. If you're trying to get to, at the very least, to the NFC title game, to the Final Four in the NFL, you're not competing with Philadelphia. You're not competing with San Francisco when they get their shit together. You're not competing with, look at New Orleans, just blew out already now. You're not competing with Detroit. You're not competing with Green Bay right now, who I'm high on, by the way. And just beat you in the playoff game. He also lost three home games in a row, including the playoff game last year against Green Bay. So, but I think these next 3 weeks are going to define or say a lot more about what this Cowboys team is. And I honestly think, I don't even think 2-1's enough. I think 3-0. I think 3-0 needs to be on the table. So, that's just my opinion on the Cowboys right now, as we are now 4 games in.